Hello, and welcome to the Total Mental Performance Podcast, the one and only mindset podcast dedicated to helping fitness entrepreneurs and coaches master their mindset, giving you insider access to industry leaders around their psychology, their campfire stories, and the mindset required to be successful in this business. I'm your host, Kyran O'Neill, mental performance coach and founder of Total Mental Performance, the world's fastest growing specialist mindset service dedicated to the fitness industry. So, without further ado, let's lean in and listen. Yes, team. Here I am with a quick solo episode, and I want to talk about two frameworks that completely changed my life. I learned these frameworks when I was working in software sales, highly competitive, high pressure, high stress, and I wasn't only competing with myself, I was competing with everybody on my team, all the other players in the market. But I had a mentor that really helped change the game for me. And what he noticed about my state when I was in the office, when I was sort of in and out, and even just on my emails, my written communication, the proposals that I was building, what he realized was I was being pulled around by my emotions. And I was making decisions not based out of strategy. I was making decisions based on emotion, fear, and definitely not logic and intuition. And he said to me that in order to be successful, you need to be able to manage your state, manage your emotions, and understand which archetypes you're operating out of. And he talks about four key archetypes, which once I learned these archetypes helps me completely change the game and understand when to make decisions, when not to make decisions. And I'm going to share those with you right now. So those archetypes, firstly, we'll start with the warrior. And most people listening to this podcast are going to have overactive warriors. They're going to work very, very, very hard. They're going to push, they're going to drive, they're going to really go, 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 go. And they'll be aggressive, not necessarily towards people, although some warriors are. They'll be aggressive towards their work, towards themselves, towards their training, their nutrition, whatever. These guys and girls, they go. And we all have a warrior within us. So it's the part of us that gets shit done, but it's also the part of us that leads to burnout. It leads us to be tired, to be fatigued, and also damages our relationships. We end up hurting those around us because we keep pushing, pushing, and pushing. Then after that, we have the magician. And the magician is that creative part. It's that part that has lots of ideas. It can solve lots of problems. It can see lots of opportunities. It's really that creative part that can look into the future, come up with vision and purpose. The problem with the magician is an overactive magician is where anxiety lives. It's where we start to overthink, we start to overcomplicate, we start to overwhelm, we start to get really, really stressed. The third sub-archetype is the lover. And the lover is the part of us that cares. It wants to help everyone. It wants to help your friends, your families, your clients. It wants to give everything away. It's very caring, very nurturing. But an ineffective lover is a people pleaser. And they don't set boundaries. And everybody just keeps taking. It's not effective. It's not helpful, particularly when the lover isn't kept in check. So they're the three sub-archetypes. As you can hear, there's clear advantages, but there's also clear disadvantages. And what's really important is understanding in different moments when you're making key decisions, because to be a successful coach and to be a successful entrepreneur, you need to be able to manage your state and make good decisions in the moment in real time. It's understanding, are you operating out of warrior, magician, or lover? Now, the key archetypes you want to be operating in is king or queen. And if you think about a king or a queen, they know when to mobilize their warriors. They know when to get the magicians in to solve problems and build things. They know when to be caring, when to look after themselves, their families, everyone. So the king or the queen is taking that strategic view. It's balanced. It's not stressed. It's not pushing. It's not coming from a place of insecurity or scarcity. It's coming from that regal place that can oversee the whole of the land and make decisions for the whole of the kingdom, not just what the warrior, the magician, or the lover likes. So how do you get back to king? Well, first of all is understanding, where are you spending most of your time? Are you spending it in magician, or are you spending it in warrior? Are you spending it in lover? Are you going round and round and round and round and round? What is it that you're doing? And if you find yourself stuck in one of those archetypes, try and use some tools and techniques to calm down. We've got plenty in our TMP app, which is exclusive for all of our clients. And in there, you have tools about managing overwhelm, how to release stress, how to think more strategically. But here's a couple of tools that are really simple. Getting a notebook and writing 3 A4 pages. Even when you feel like you think you're better and you've calmed down, just keep writing. Getting out, going for a walk, changing your environment, or just delaying a decision. And if you need to tell someone, hey, I'm going to be honest, I need a couple of days to process this and I'm going to make a decision and come back to you, that's okay. But try not to make decisions when you're stuck in magician or when you're in warrior or when you're in lover, because what's going to happen is your king or your warrior is going to have to pick up the slack and pick up for those decisions later. So have a think and even pause this podcast and just start to have a quick journal. Do you spend most of your time in magician, in warrior, or in lover? How does your sub-archetype show up for you? How do you spend your time and how do you get stuck in those? And what are some tools and techniques that you can use to slow down and get back into king or queen? Think about times when you were in king or queen. How were you operating? What were the decisions you were making? What was going on in your life? And really make sure you start to optimize for those archetypes. So that for me was an incredible thinking framework to help me make better decisions, stay calm, stay collected, and ultimately be the leader that I need to be in order to continue to steer the ship of total mental performance. The next one was really interesting as well. So this is a communication framework, and it's how you can start to understand exactly who's in front of you, how they communicate and how they think, and being able to match the language that they're speaking in. And you're not copying them, but it's helping you understand how they need to be communicated towards. Now, I learned this by when I was opening and closing highly complex deals. So these would be virtual reality deals. Some of them would be in e-commerce, data analytics, and often would have 4 or 5 decision makers in those deals. So it wasn't just a case of getting on a call with a client saying, hey, do you want to jump on board or not? And then off you go. You would have to communicate and sell to so many different stakeholders around the business. So when I was selling on-site personalization software, I used to have to communicate not only with the e-commerce director, but I used to communicate with the financial director to make sure that it fell in line with their budgets and produced a return. I would have to get their brand director to make sure that all of the software was customized towards their brand. Then I had to get the CEO sometimes involved because they needed to sign off or they needed to make sure it was part of the strategic core of direction. Then we used to go to the garment technology department and start understanding, do they have the data we need in order to fill our software? So at that point, you're selling into 5 different people. And there are even some people within those people's teams that you're selling into. So you had to be able to communicate at various different levels in various different ways in order for you to be able to communicate the value that you could bring towards that organization. And here are the 3 types of communicators that really help. I don't really understand the nationalities part and how that's come in. So please don't knock me on that one. And let's just roll with it. So the first one, and by the way, my mentor learned this off of a guy that they used to pay $28,000 a day to fly in from the States to come in and train the teams. It's absolutely insane. So the first is Spanish. And the Spaniards are people that are very technical. They need to know the details. They know the ins, the outs. Has it got red lights? Has it got blue lights? Technically, how does it integrate? For you as coaches, that's going to be, how long is the program? Which app do you use? How does the app work? How specifically are you going to do my macros and my nutrition? And what training split am I going to have? They really want to know the ins and outs. They want to know the detail. Sometimes you just got to sit there and be with them and exercise them and give them the detail that they want and go and go and go and go and go. And then once they've had all the detail, that's when they make their decision. Then we have a layer above that, and that's Russian. Now, the Russians want to know the detail. So what does my training program look like? What is the split and what is your philosophy? But they want to know the value of the detail. Okay, so if I was going to do an upper or a lower, or if I'm going to do a full body, what's the value of that? Why would I want to do that? So they still want to know some of the detail, not as much as the Spaniards, but they want to know enough so they can then start to understand, okay, gotcha. I know some of the detail, but I know the value of the detail. And then you have the Greeks, the language of the gods. And typically the Greeks, and I work with some of these outside of TMP of my private high net worth clients, these tend to be CEOs, executives, board advisors. They're all in the boardroom and they don't have a lot of time and they don't really care about the detail. These are the people you get on a call with and they're very short. They don't say much and they're just there to understand the value. They don't care about the detail. They don't care whether it's got red lights or blue lights. They don't care about the macros and the micronutrition. They don't care about any of that stuff. All they need to know is, what do I need to do? What is my input? What is the cost? How is it going to help? What is the value? What's the return on investment? That's it. Sometimes you'll get on calls with these people and you feel like nothing's really going well. They're a bit quiet, they're not really giving you much. They ask you some really basic questions. And then once you've answered them, they go, all right, I'm in, where do I sign up? And off they go. And you think, we barely spoke. What was that about? These typically tend to be Greeks, much more senior people. And that doesn't necessarily mean an age. It often just means an experience, or they're just naturally like that. And for me, once I learned that, it was like the code to the matrix. And it was like, I could see that not only in business and in my own team, I could see that in my family, my friends. Oh, he's a Spaniard, he's a Russian, he's a Greek. And it really does change the game in the way in which you're able to build relationships and connect with people. Because at the end of the day, the fundamental need of human beings is to be understood. And that's it. So that communication framework can be really helpful when you're coaching your clients. So go through your current client list, and then also for any calls that you have coming up with potential new clients, start to just put them in those little boxes. Are they Spaniards? Are they Russians? Are they Greeks? And just adapt how you communicate with them. And what you'll find is they'll start to connect with you in a completely different way. So once I learned those two frameworks, it really, really helped me manage myself, my emotions, my mindset. And it allowed me to communicate and connect with others in such a powerful way. My life genuinely started to change. And hopefully that's helpful for you too. Let me know in the comments on our Facebook page. Give us a like, give us a review on Facebook, on Apple. Let us know, how did you find these little solo episodes? How did you find the tools and the techniques? And keep us posted. I love hearing your feedback. I often get messages about the podcast, so please keep them coming. Please do like, share, comment. Big love, and keep going.